What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast after a 2-week break, vacation. I don't know if you would call it a vacation.
Well,
Casino.
I don't call it a vacation.
Yeah. We are back. We are back in the dog days of summer where there's no good sports on. Last night at work, I literally had on in the bar iRobot because I didn't know what the fuck else to put on. There's nothing else. There's nothing, Casino.
Well, at least it's topical.
Yeah. But I'm wearing my Indiana Jones hat, Casino, because the new Indiana Jones comes out tonight. I'm sure it's going to be dog shit.
When are you going to see it? I know you are.
Tonight. And
well, I know you're going tonight.
I'm going tonight. Always a good. Oh, probably around like 8. But always a good sign when it's the opening night for a gigantic blockbuster movie from Disney, and there is at an 8 p.m. showing on a Friday night, there was 4 tickets sold in the giant auditorium.
Well, you know what? Not a lot of people go to the movies anymore. You're an anomaly. I still like going to the movie theaters, but I never go. I enjoy it, but I never go. The last one I saw in theaters was John Wick 4. Before that, I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. I really don't know what the last one was before John Wick. No idea. Years.
Yeah. I mean, I like going to the movies. You're right. I am an anomaly where I would prefer to see every movie in theaters. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
we're burying the lead here, buddy. Why are we on a 2-week hiatus?
Oh,
burying the lead.
That's all you, Casino. Tell them your horror story. Tell them.
Oh man. So the night before we're supposed to record, because we're normally record on Thursdays. We're doing Friday today because of travel for the holiday. As you can see, I got a different background. I'm in California. But so 2 Wednesdays ago at work, everything was fine. I hadn't been drinking since the Stanley Cup win. I've been working out, drinking water, trying to lose weight, trying to help my blood pressure. Well, all that working out did something horrible to me, actually. Working out put me in a hell of pain. I got a kidney stone. Had to pass that shit. And so, yeah, Wednesday night, dude, it was the most uncomfortable. Like, it felt like a UTI where, like, you have to urinate, but then you can't. And then I was like, okay, whatever. We'll get that checked out. It's not the end of the world. And then all of a sudden I started getting back pain, and then I started getting pain going through my side. And I was like, yep. So my dad has had one like a year and a half ago. My little brother had one about 6 months ago. So I called my mom and I'm like, you need to come to my work right now, pick me up, because I know I'm having a kidney stone and this is bad. And yeah, that was the case. I had to go to the hospital. They put me on heavy medication. And yeah, so that was fun. And then they're like, oh yeah, it hasn't passed yet. So here's some pain meds, go home. I'm like, okay, sounds good. For all those who know the pain of a kidney stone, I feel you. I'm sorry. For those of you who don't, you guys all suck.
Yeah. Luckily, I have never had one. Cross my fingers, I never do.
Oh, dude, sounds like involuntarily puking and crying, and like I couldn't keep my body still because it just felt like somebody was ringing, like the devil was like wringing me out. It was bad.
But yeah, so that's why we've been away for 2 weeks. But now we're back. Also, we were away for 2 weeks. I don't know, just to take a break. But there's some news, but it's not. This is always that weird kind of like 2.5, 3 months.
It was the perfect time for me to get a kidney stone. Let's just say that.
It was. Thank God you didn't get it during the finals or the Stanley Cup or whatever. So thanks for holding.
Oh yeah, you'd have to find a new co-host.
Yeah. But also, I found out today it is 69 days till the NFL season starts. That's right, Casinos. 69 days.
That's crazy. It feels like it just ended.
I know. Dude, the craziest thing is me and my son, my 11-year-old, are going to NBA Summer League.
I know you were. I was going to talk to you about that once we got onto the Wembanyama, because his debut is going to be in Vegas.
Yeah, and I think I won't be able, or actually I might be able to see his first game, but that one's going to be the one that's probably the hard ticket to come by because that's the player everybody wants to see, but I'm excited to see the Trailblazers for Scoot.
Well,
I'm excited to see
once you, I mean, when I went one time to the summer league, I thought you once you get your ticket, you're able to go from the Thomas Mack and the Cox Pavilion back and forth to whichever games were running. Or now do you have to get
uh
individual ticket games?
they might, no, it's not, it's per day, right? So
Oh,
you
yeah.
buy
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Friday's ticket, but I think they changed it to now like there's 2 sets of games going on. So you either buy the A ticket or the B ticket. So you go see the Cox Pavilion one or the Thomas and Mack one. And it's like you can go back and forth. I
That's
don't
dumb.
know.
Good luck trying to
We
monitor that because that connector is huge. Like that
Yeah.
walkway between because I mean the buildings are connected. Like that's going to be a lot of tape and a lot of ushers trying to stop people.
Well, I don't, to be honest, I don't know, like, because they give you tickets or wristbands or whatever it was. Last summer was the first time I actually like went to it, and it was cool, but it was also like we planned it where the 3 matchups we wanted to see were all in the same spot right after each other. So we didn't attempt to go to the other spot. So maybe they
Hmm.
just have people standing there just for crowd control kind of thing. We probably could have just walked right through and it wouldn't have been an issue. But yeah, Summer League is cool. I like how they do it as like a tournament style where there's actual like wins matter kind of, and then it's like
Yeah.
they do the championship and it like
Implications to winning and not losing.
yeah, it's like an actual tournament where, some of these guys, well, most of these guys aren't going to be on like NBA teams. So it's like
I gotcha.
something nice to just fight for
So
and get to
obviously, I mean,
see.
so we kind of just naturally segue into the NBA and the Wembanyama talk. Um, dude, it's so
Jesus.
funny when he was going up to Adam Silver and shaking his hand. It's just ridiculous how tall this dude is. Um,
I've never seen an NBA player where they are having everybody in their camp lie saying they're shorter than they actually are. Like that's
right.
fucking crazy. That they're now
It's
saying
insanity.
he's like 6'9" or 6'11" because he doesn't have shoes on or something. I don't know, but dude, that guy is over 7 feet tall
No,
and
he's what, like 7'2" or something like that.
yeah, minimum he is 7 foot. Like that is the smallest he can possibly be. Would if you were the Spurs, obviously he went number one. Obviously, you had to go number one. They're saying he's one of the best prospects in NBA history. But if you're the Spurs organization or any organization who would have drafted him, are you concerned about his body type historically not being able to hold up to the wear and tear of
Oh, that was gonna
NBA?
be my question. That was gonna be my question to you, actually. But I'll answer first. I think it is very scary thing. Yes, obviously you've seen the highlights. He can hit the jumper. He can hit the three. He can drive. He even has some ball control, which is really insane for a dude that's 7 foot or higher. And it's cool to see him do all that, but he's playing against much smaller dudes. I'm not talking height wise. I'm talking like bulk size.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I look at him and I'm nervous for him to go into the NBA because it doesn't matter how good you are if people are going to body you out. Like imagine him going against Draymond Green. You don't think Draymond Green is going to get pushed around by that guy? Hell no, not at all. He's going to have to be really good, in my opinion. He's going to have to be really good in the 3 point shot. He's going to have to improve on that because how are you going to, guard a 7+ footer on a 3 point shot? That's going to be
yeah,
really tough to do. But I keep talking to people about that. They're like, oh, he's going to be amazing. And I'm like, okay, well, look at his height. I know we had like Yao Ming and whatnot, but he wasn't that
and
dominant
Taco
player.
Falls.
That's where I was going to go with is Taco, being a Boston fan. watching Taco run up and down the court is it's different watching Wembanyama because Wembanyama actually has. I'm going to say his name so much, and it's going to get muddled every single time. Um, Wembanyama, but every time he runs down, he seems to have more control over his body than I mean, Taco
Oh,
Fall,
yeah.
none. Everybody was excited, like, "Oh my gosh, he's 7'4", 7'6", or whatever he was. This guy's
He
a
was seven
giant."
six.
Yeah,
Yeah.
7'6". He's a giant. He's going to be the best player in the league. Well, not when you can't just stand under the basket. If he was able just to stand under the basket, that's a different thing. But you can't do that. Um, so I'm nervous for him. He needs to bulk up. Maybe he can call Zion Williamson and they could do like a lipo swap. I don't know. Maybe that would help
Just don't
out
ask him
Zion's.
for dating advice.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe that would help
Just
out Zion's dating life because that lady, the not baby mama, his
the
ex
porn
lady,
star. Yeah.
the porn star would be like, okay, well, you finally lost weight. Maybe we could talk again. Ugh.
Dude, I saw an insane stat. Oh, fuck. I took a picture of it, but it was so long ago where, oh, here it is. Uh, this was from Clutch Points on Facebook. It was Zion has been in the NBA for 1,338 days. And Moriah Mills started tweeting about Zion
Yeah,
15 days ago. So in that span of time, she has sent 135 tweets about Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson, in those same amount of days, has only played 114 games. Now, obviously, one is much easier than the other, but it's the 15 days in 2 weeks. This random ex love interest of Zion tweeted 135 tweets. That's impressive.
it is.
That's a streak. But please continue.
No, yeah, no, I'm worried about it. But I think the size is going to be a downfall for him,
Yeah.
especially if his jump shot and his 3-point shot fade because he's not gonna get down low as easy as he thinks. Because like I said, you put somebody like Draymond down there, he's gonna get bullied. He's gonna get
Yeah.
bullied. Draymond won't put up with it.
Well, it's
But hey, he's
also
got time. He's got time to bulk up. You know, he's got time to bulk up, and nothing about where he lived and their food and their cuisine. But we've got fast food. We've got something that can bulk him up. We've got that greasy, gross food for him to get bulked up, especially down in Texas. Come on, man, that kid's gonna bulk up. He's definitely gonna bulk up.
Dude, you just reminded me. I watched the NBA draft. ESPN's NBA draft coverage was maybe one of the worst television shows I've ever seen in my fucking life. They
I watched the
did
Wembanyama draft and that was it. I stopped watching.
Oh, dear lord. Like the NFL draft, you would think like a draft is a super easy show to put together because you go, we're going to show the guy either in the stadium hugging his family and being like, we're going to give him the stats and where he came from. And then we're going to show highlights. And then he's going to go up on stage. And then we're going to have analysts talk about him. Right. And then if he's at home, you show him getting the phone call. His family's freaking out. You show the highlights, and then the analysts talk about him. The NBA draft coverage was we're going to show the player getting drafted. We're not going to show any highlights whatsoever. No highlights for
None.
whatever fucking reason. And then we're going to sit them on the couch with their family. And then every single player that gets drafted who is sitting there with their family, we're going to ask the family how proud they are of their son. What? There's 30 NBA teams? What variety of answers do you expect 30 different parents to say when the question is, are you proud of your son who just got drafted into the NBA? Why is
Also, you
that
know
the
what?
only question we're
I
asking them?
I have no idea because they don't know how to do media. Like
God.
we could, I mean, we're just starting up our podcast, but I really feel like I could be more successful than probably let's call it 69% of the media that's out there.
Dude,
Um, it's
it
bad.
was
I
so
mean, yes,
bad.
I gotta work on my public speaking skills a little bit more, but like I'm
Do
sure
you
I can
have a
figure.
better question than are you proud of your child? Because if you do, you're already better than everyone involved in the NBA draft show. And then it was like they
Why did they
had
have him so far away, by the way?
dude, I
Like,
don't know.
he walked, like
That was
I
far.
watched somebody placed a, like, $100 bet on that he would shake
I
Adam
sent that to you.
Silver's hand within a minute. Yeah, you sent me
Yeah.
that. And the way it took he was so pissed. It took, like, 4 minutes before he got up to shake Adam Silver's hand. It was ridiculous.
But
That's an exaggeration, but close to it.
and then they had the like the draft analyst or whatever get in front of the desk and be like, this is how hard it is for Victor Wembanyama to move. And then they just had her being like, his hands over here, but his foot's right here, and he needs to step over here to get. And it's just like, what are we doing? Like, yeah, no shit. It would be harder to move as a 7 foot 6 inch giant person. Like, yeah, no shit, his arm is farther away from his leg. Like, it was just like the this is the thing that annoys the fuck out of me. The Super Bowl and the NBA finals and the Stanley Cup, that's where you get analysts to do the dumbed down version of covering the sport, right? Because that's where you're getting
When you
all these
finally get
people,
everybody's looking at you,
yeah,
like, everybody's
who
looking. It was awful.
nobody there's people every year who the only football game they watch is the Super Bowl just because it's the
Well, I
Super
mean,
Bowl,
and
right?
so like you brought up the yeah, and you brought up the NHL, like the ESPN broadcast, which we're doing a segue here. The ESPN broadcast, the best person that they had on there not Malcolm, his brother. Oh my gosh, Subban. I forget why am I blanking on his name?
Yeah. No, I know who you're
Oh
talking
my
about.
gosh. Yep. Apparently the kidney stone messed up my brain too. PK. There we go. PK Subban. He was the best part about it because like he at least had like a fun segment where like he was like doing their like outfits, pre and post game attire and stuff like that. But everybody else, like I was like, you just don't think one lady actually had to explain rules to one of the analysts. And I was just like, are you kidding me? You're covering the NHL playoffs and you have to be corrected by I forget whatever her name was, who obviously follows hockey and actually reports on it, for a living. And
Yeah.
she actually had to teach him the rules. And I was just like, this guy's an idiot. The best broadcast was the TNT broadcast. I mean, they
Yeah.
actually had the greats. They had Lundqvist, they had Gretzky, they had all those superstars. So that was
Well, yeah,
crazy that ESPN couldn't do it. Um,
that's why TNT does far better like NBA countdown broadcasts because you
oh
have
my goodness, by
Charles
far.
Barkley, you have Shaq, who are funny like commentators and they know what the fuck they're
What has
talking about.
happened to ESPN, man?
Yeah.
Outside of Scott Van Pelt, I think
Well, and
that
PTI.
then yeah, and PTI. PTI, it's fun. Those two are great. And then Scott Van Pelt. Besides that, the rest of ESPN, I never get on ESPN. It's
No.
awful. I can't stand it. With that being said, hey, why don't you roll into the great news that happened today live?
Yeah.
We're doing this
So
live.
the crazy, we're talking about the dog days of summer where nothing sports related is really going on, and ironically the biggest sports story was not about sports itself but about ESPN, the company that is, I would still say they're the number one name in
They're
sports
yeah.
coverage, right?
Oh,
Like it's,
by far.
even
No, by
though,
far.
yeah, even though you look at their ratings
I
and they
mean,
never like
they have
nobody
ESP1,
watches
they have
cable.
ESPN1, they have ESPN2, they have ESPN News, they have ESPNU, they have the Ocho, like they have everything.
Yeah, the Ocho. Uh,
You know,
but
I look forward to that every single year when they
I do
put
too.
ESPN2, they turn into the Ocho. I
Dude,
mean,
they
who
should
doesn't
just
want to watch marble racing
they should do
like
that
all day?
all summer. All summer it should be ESPN, the Ocho, and baseball. That's just what it should be. But this morning, as we're recording this a couple hours ago, ESPN fired over 20, not employees, 20 on-air personalities, which is fucking crazy. Some of the big names that
So
were
many.
fired include Max Kellerman, Keyshawn Johnson, Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Susie Colbert, Matt Hasselbeck, Steve Young, basically everybody that wasn't Stephen A. Smith, uh, Mia Kimes, is that her name? Mia
Yeah.
Kimes.
Yeah. I think it's Mia.
Uh, and
We
then
could be
what?
butchering
Like,
it, but again, we don't pay attention to them.
yeah,
They're
I
bad.
don't.
That's why they got
I
fired.
just know her name because I've seen her on like other sports shows I listen to, not podcast, obviously, because we're the only sports podcast. But as far as those names, any of those ones shock you, Casino?
No, none.
I think the only one that really shocks me is Susie Colbert because she seems like kind of the Chris Berman like esque figure where it's just like she's always there in terms of like ESPN covering the NFL. Like you always expect to see her face kind of there. Also, Steve Young,
That
I feel like is a really good sports commentator. So it's weird that they
yeah,
fired
but
him.
how much was he? How much was he demanding? Because I'm sure Steve Young was not cheap.
That's
And
true.
so let me ask you this: do you think this was just for ESPN to do this? Do you think this was just a money thing because they're losing money, or do you think they're just? Let me say, do you think they're doing it because they're losing money, or do you think they're doing this because ESPN wants to make more money, like the higher ups, or do you think they were just bad and they want to restructure and bring in fresh blood?
I think it's a little bit of all of it, but the
No, pick one.
company,
No,
well,
no,
this
no,
one
no
is
scapegoating.
saying the company reported operating profit grew 56% in 2022. So they don't need to cut anyone to like not lose money. Get what I'm
So
saying? They
are they
grew
talking
by
about them
over half.
filling are they talking about filling those spots, or are they just getting rid of it and are they just letting Scott Van Pelt take over? You live in the studio
That's the
now. This
interesting
this
part.
this is
Yep.
your desk. This is your desk. You're gonna pee here, you're gonna raise your family here, you're gonna eat here, everything right here in this desk.
Well, the crazy thing is ESPN is also laying off seven, or no, I'm sorry, Disney, the company that owns ESPN, is laying off 7,000 employees. 7,000 across all their, media. They're obviously the evil empire of media where they fucking
They've
own
gotten yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So they've gotten
Dude,
way too
Dis
big.
Disney's Di Disney's rolling Walt Disney's rolling around in his grave, dude.
uh, but I do think that with these names, and we were talking about this before we started recording, like the only number I've seen, and I'm assuming most of these on-air personalities who were laid off were making somewhere in the ballpark of this.
If he was making
Dude,
this,
that's what I'm
like,
saying. Keyshawn Johnson was making over, or he was scheduled to make over $18 million. I don't know if that was the year or like his contract, but $18 million for Keyshawn Johnson. I don't know what show or program Keyshawn Johnson was on, let alone there's no one in media right now besides maybe like what Joe Rogan, maybe Pat McAfee, who are bringing in the type of money to justify
I'm
almost
back. I'm
$20 million.
back.
Like there's no fucking way. Like, yeah, I
Jeffrey.
love Susie Colbert and I love Jeff Van Gundy, and I thought Jalen Rose is actually a pretty damn good like
And you said
basketball.
Steve Young as well. But
Yeah, Steve.
just imagine how much Stevie Young was making. No wonder. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I know Brady's not going to ESPN, but no wonder Brady was like, oh, you know what? I'm done playing football. I don't have my superstar model wife making all the money anymore. I have to go I have to go work for a living now. So he needs that money.
I think
Sorry.
the biggest I think the biggest fall from grace though from this list of names or whatever. And I always found him annoying as fuck, but ESPN really took Max Kellerman and was like your new Skip Bayless when Skip Bayless left and went to Fox Sports 1. Remember it was like him and Stephen A. I don't watch First Take. I don't watch
No, but they
Undisputed. I don't
always
like those
were.
fake bullshit like debate shows where it's just like people just making dumb arguments just so
Right,
they can have arguments. Like I fucking
right.
hate that format. That's why I like
So
PTI because most of the time those guys agree and they're just like talking, right? It doesn't
right.
feel like manufactured.
You have to disagree, and that was the thing. Remember, we talked about it where uh, Shannon Sharp was actually legitimately all pissed off with Skip Baylor, and he was like, "No, this is not an act
You just
anymore.
call him
Like we're
Skip Baylor,
did
Skip
Skip Bayless,
Bayless.
Jesus, what Baylor? I don't know, Skip Bayless." But yes, Skip Bayless. But when Shannon and Skip were having their actual legitimate argument, and like Shannon wasn't showing up to work, like that was a real kerfuffle. That was a real thing where they did not agree on something. They disagreed. But
Yeah.
most of the time, that's just all bullshit show. So you know,
I also
they make. I guarantee you, Skip Bayless isn't like I know he's a diehard Cowboys fan, but I have trouble thinking like he's that ignorant to thinking that the Cowboys are going to be the greatest team every year and how he oh, it's the Cowboys year. Dak's amazing. He's the best. But he has to be playing that up because he can't be that dumb. Like he
But
just
see,
can't be.
that's the crazy thing is like people who have
If
been
it
at that network will say like, "No, that's the real guy you see on TV," which makes it even worse. If he's not playing a character and that's really him and he's that
but
successful,
are
like,
but are they
ugh.
right? But are they in on it as well though?
Yeah, but if they don't work there anymore, why
Or
would they
maybe
give a shit?
maybe Skip is that crazy, and then and maybe Skip is that crazy, and fair enough. Maybe if Skip is that crazy, but then they're like, "Hey, Shannon, you actually you have to be the one to ping pong off of him because we know he's nuts." And maybe that's when Shannon was finally like, "I'm done." That as you could tell, we're not big fans of that show.
Well,
Just
I mean,
saying.
there's not
I mean,
like
hell,
I
I got
like
his hell, I got his name wrong. I said Skip Baylor.
I like Colin Cowherd show. I like First
Oh, he's
Things
amazing.
First.
But
I
that's
like
Fox
both these
Sports 1.
shows. Yeah, well
But
that's what I'm
Colin's on
saying.
Fox Sports.
Yeah. I like both those shows, but I also don't sit down and watch
And
them to
he's
completion.
and
I just watch clips on YouTube.
he, and to be honest, outside of like I said, I like Scott Van Pelt. I think he reports very well at night. I don't know what your take is on him, but
No, no, I
I,
like
I
him too.
think he does well at grasping all sports and really I think he presents himself well. But my favorite fun show is PTI. But
Yeah.
the last show I truly was Sports Nation. That
Yeah.
was amazing with Colin Cowherd and Michelle Beadle. I love that. And that was an ESPN. And then he's openly talked about the other guys, Fox Sports One and company. He's so happy to be out of there. Ridiculous. So
Well, also because
I wonder,
you're
man. I wonder how many people truly enjoy working for ESPN.
well, yeah. I mean, well, now it's also just like they
It's my
fired
computer,
so many
man.
people
It's my
where it's
computer, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
okay. But they fired so many people from ESPN now that were apparently on it's again, it said all on-air talents, but I don't know what shows most of them hosted. Uh, but now it's like, what does tomorrow look like? Like, what shows are they going to have? Is it just going to be 24-hour Sports Center and then whatever baseball game they have the rights to? Like, maybe, I don't know. Like, it's weird, or I guess it's good timing. They did it during the summer where it's like nobody is really paying attention to sports all that much. Baseball's still too early in the season. Basketball ended, hockey ended, football is 2 months, 3 months away from starting. So they have till probably August, September to put their teams together. But it's also just like, who gives a shit about ESPN? Like, there was that story. I don't know if we talked about it on this podcast where Pat McAfee signed that big deal with ESPN where he's going over to their network and it's like his show's going to be live from I think noon to 3, maybe 11 to 2 or whatever on ESPN. It's also going to be live on ESPN's YouTube channel. So this could also be the thing where they're like, we don't need all these guys because we're having a 3-hour Pat McAfee show. But I don't know. It just seems like Pat McAfee was the perfect YouTube personality. I don't know how well he's going to fit under the umbrella of ESPN. It just seems like those two things are opposite of each other. What are your thoughts on the Pat McAfee show? I mean, I watch clips. I think it's fine, but I don't think it's anything like fucking groundbreaking.
Like I don't mind it. Like he's got a following. Um, I mean, his best following is Aaron Rodgers. He's going to have him on all the time, so at least we'll get we'll get tons of Aaron Rodgers coverage. At least I know I'll
My
be knowing
favorite.
what's going on in my division in football. Ugh, the worst. Uh, no, it's good for ESPN, I guess. With the amount of people they're getting rid of and the show getting rid of, a solid start trying to, already. So yeah, they'll. I think it'll do just fine. Um, and then sorry for like watching and listening. My sister on my trip with me. Um, this toaster is going to be gone soon. I am going to go get myself a new computer. So
Yeah.
GoFundMe
Uh
page.
go fund me. But
Because,
yeah,
oh
I
yeah,
just
because
thought
all
that
these
was
all the bottles, they're mine.
god damn it. Dude, it is I can't you're literally saying like all and then it'll cut out and then it'll just cut and then it'll come back to you just not saying anything. I cannot hear a fucking word you're saying. Uh let's do let's jump to
All right, how about you
all right,
talk and
now
then I just smile.
well, no, now you're good. Now it's working. It was just that moment right there. But so I'm gonna cut all that fucking out. Try to do the. Actually, no, fuck it. Uh, now that we talked about all the ESPN layoffs, casino, and let's talk about I guess the biggest news since in the 2 weeks we've been on is you touched on the NBA draft, but there was a bunch of NBA trades. Bradley Beal went to the Suns. Uh, Chris Paul went to the Golden State Warriors. Porzingis went to the Celtics, and then Smart went to the Timberwolves. So out of all those trades, what do you think is the best? I guess what team got the best player in of those options?
Um, man, I like Porzingis going to the Celtics. I'll be honest. Mainly because I mean, if you're going to get rid of Smart, you need to bring in the guy, and the Celtics did it right, so I may be biased on that. I like just Porzingis coming in and filling a spot that needs to be filled. Um, yeah, I don't know. I
Or I'm sorry, I
the
said Timberwolves, Grizzlies. Smart went to the
Yes,
Grizzlies. My bad.
I was going to correct it, and so him going to the Grizzlies. Yeah, I even though Smart is a great player and I like watching him play, I don't know how it's going to be successful with Ja Morant there and still being in trouble. Which, by the way, 24 games.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's re- that's absolutely ridiculous.
You
You
think it
know,
should
he's
have
going to
been
do it
more or
again.
less?
Oh, we already talked about it. It should have been a year.
I agree. I don't think
It should have
24
been. It's
games
yeah. I
is
mean, half the NFL. I mean, half of Detroit Lions are out for a year because of gambling, and they weren't even doing it on their own team. They were just gambling in general, and they're out for a year.
which I wanted your because the gambling thing, we've already talked about it. I don't think we have any new fresh takes. I did want your take sidetrack right now because we're just all over the place. I wanted your opinion. Did you see the I can't remember who the player was, but he said, oh man, let me find it. It was a great quote about, so you want me to go out and risk my life for to play this game, but I can't bet $1,000 for my team to win. That was his quote.
Well, I know one of the I haven't looked into all the players, but I know the one of the cornerbacks for the Patriots had issues and was vocal, so maybe that was him. Um, like I said, I've been traveling, so I haven't really pulled up every single thing that's been popping up on my phone, but I saw the highlight that cornerback for the Patriots talks about his disgust for the gambling policy. So possibly him.
Ugh.
But no, I think it's ridiculous, man. I do. As long as you're not like if you're betting other games and other teams and you're not doing anything that's gonna affect your team, where you have a hand in, like where you could play better, play worse, as long as you don't have any hand in it, I don't see the issue. I just don't see the issue because the NFL owners are allowed to gamble. They said they're not going to, but they do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always been, and it was your Patriots cornerback. It
That's what I
was
thought.
Jonathan Jones, and the exact quote was, I understand rules are rules, but I can risk my life so my team wins, but I can't risk $1,000 on my team winning. Uh I'm sorry, I missed the memo. What uh who in the NFL has died? Did Where are you risking your life? You're playing a football game and you're the
Well,
guy
you
hitting
could
the other
get
people?
I know, but you can still get CTE. You can still have all the brain shit, and you
Yeah, but nobody's forcing them to play. This isn't fucking Gladiator. They're not being forced in a pit to play football. They're also
his
being paid millions of
his
dollars.
analogy. Okay, that's fine. His analogy was bad, but his concept is still remains true. You're out there. Why can't you know? But you shouldn't bet on your own team. I agree with that. But why can't you bet on other games going on? You have a bye week that week. Why can't you be like, hey, I'm going to go place some bets on these teams? Why not?
He's being paid $10 million a year, and he's mad that he can't bet $1,000 on his team to win. Like, this is dumb. This
He's
is a
talking of
dumb person.
fine.
This is
Yes. Again, I don't like how he's putting it, but the core concept is in my opinion, I agree with.
but again, if I'm in the if I'm in the NFL and I want to bet on my team to win, why would I get not give my friend Casino $1,000 and say bet on the Patriots to win? That's not against the rules. Me going into a casino myself, not going into this casino, but going into an actual casino.
I mean,
But
it's always welcomed.
um, I get good comps in there, if you know what I mean. But if I
Yeah, you do.
went, if I went into a casino and was like, "Here's $1,000. I'm a cornerback for the Patriots," like I'm a dumb person. I'm fucking stupid. Why again? Why am I not giving a friend, my mom, my dad, my brother money? Why do I have to be the one to say bet for this to win? Like that's the only way you get caught. You're fucking dumb. You're dumb. Ugh.
No, I mean they
Again,
can track it still.
yeah, but then it's not illegal. They're not in the NFL. They have no recourse if it's my mom betting. She's not
Well,
playing games.
I I think there is something. I could be wrong, but I thought I did hear something about like families aren't allowed to do it.
No, remember we talked about this when it happened
No, I don't
a couple
remember.
months
Again,
ago.
I don't
Kidney
remember. I don't
stones.
pay
Yeah.
attention. Yeah, kidney
Uh
stones.
But remember, the NFL rule was it's even dumber than I'm making it because it's only you cannot bet on your team or on NFL games if you're in NFL like facilities. So all these guys were getting in trouble because they were doing bets from their phone, in this case, from Patriots facilities. You do it in a, but again, that extends to if you're in the hotel room for the team and if you're on the road with the team. So that's where like the gray area is. But again, you're at home. It's not illegal, like by the, not illegal, but by NFL rules. So you can be at home making these bets and you won't get in trouble. The second you step through the doors of a Patriots facility, then it breaks NFL rules. So again, it's even stupider than that. Maybe only
More stupid. More
more stupid.
stupid.
Yes.
Sorry, I
Uh
live with the English teacher, so
maybe the only thing, and we'll segue back to the NBA, maybe the only thing more dumb, more stupid than that is John Morant doing the same thing where he got a light tap on the wrist a second time, and then the second time he also just gets tapped on the wrist for it. Like, what is going to, again, I think both you and I agree it should have been half a season, it should have been a full season.
oh,
Why
I
would
think
he
it should have been a
not do
full
it?
season.
Yeah. Why would he not do it again? He's going to miss 24 games, and his team got better, in my opinion, with Marcus Smart. But like Marcus Smart can't lead this Grizzlies team. They were the number 2 seed last season with Morant missing a shitload of those games as well. They only got better. They didn't really lose anybody. Like
And we talked about
this
Morant
Grizzlies team going to be good.
When John Morant was out, there was actually a little bit better team chemistry.
That's true. Yeah, they had a better record with him off the court than when he was on the court. And then Smart, they call him the heart and soul of those Boston teams. Like he seems like a guy that
I'm so sad that he left.
you know what? I think
I wanted I wanted Brown to leave so bad.
really
Yeah.
you would take Tatum or you would take Smart over Tatum.
No, I said Brown.
Oh, Brown. Oh, sorry. But
Yeah.
no, you would, but still, question. If uh you could either keep Smart or now
I
I'm
would keep
fucking blanking on the name.
I would keep get rid of Brown. I could.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would. I mean, again, you said it. Smart is the heart and soul of a team, and it's sad that he's gone.
My
Anyway,
God, those playoffs were rough
what
though.
about? So,
They
what do you think
lost a
about?
bunch of games.
Right. What do you think about Chris Paul?
I think it is maybe the dumbest move of all the trades we've seen. I don't think he
One
works
hundred
on Golden
percent.
State at all. They have
None.
Steph
Zero.
Curry.
There's 0% that he works on that team. Absolutely zero. The reason
It's
I feel like the reason they want him to come over is so they can give Steph a chance to just be a catch and shoot guy and not a guy that has to run the offense and run the plays. And
yeah.
but still, like, is that going to make him? Or is that going to make the team better? Is Chris Paul a better ball handler than Steph Curry with the ball?
No.
I don't think
He's
so.
a
And especially when Steph, you never know if Steph's gonna, cross up and take a jumper. And so like where I'm getting at is like, oh, Steph Curry is now he's gonna be the catch and shoot guy. We know what he's gonna do when he gets the ball. When Chris Paul's going crazy, stupid dogs.
See,
Ugh.
I agree with everything you said. I think I think the issue with uh, the obvious issues with Chris Paul on the Warriors is the Warriors got smaller, right? When obviously we've seen over the past couple years, like the teams with size and reach are the teams that get to the promised land. We saw Anthony Davis, then Giannis, then the Joker, and then we also saw Bam Adebayo of the Heat have a great, playoff run. So it's like we see the
Yeah,
NBA, the
ding me.
Warriors, yeah, the Warriors made it where small ball, catch and shoot, 3-point shot, were dominating the NBA. And then the NBA was like, how do we combat, or other teams are like, how do we combat small ball? We just get giant guys in the middle who can control the entire center area of the court. And then we just feed the ball to them. And then we saw success with the Lakers. We saw those three teams, those three type of teams win 3 years in a row. Lakers, what is it? Lakers, Bucks, Nuggets, and then we have the Warriors with small ball have like the one last gasp of their franchise, of their, dynasty, win that title. But everybody was like, there's no way the Warriors can win
And
the
you know
title.
what?
They did, and
I'm
it
happy they won that title because Steph
thank
Curry,
you.
everybody was like, "Oh, he needs to win one on his back," and he did. So I was happy they won that one actually, because I
Yeah,
like Steph. I like Steph a lot. I
I do
outside
too.
of him chewing on his mouth guard, I think he's great. Um, by the way, so kind of just talking about basketball, I know this is going from NBA to college, but did you hear the news? Obviously, it's been a couple weeks, but how San Diego's trying to leave the Mountain West?
No, where are they going?
Oh, they were trying to leave, and then they were trying to get the Mount West to like with the contract, like void this part of a contract, blah blah blah. I don't know the whole thing, but they have, and the Mountain West were like, yeah, no, we're not gonna, give you what you want just so you can leave. And so San Diego State has now backed off. This just came through, backed off the intention to withdraw from the Mountain West Conference. I mean, I get why they want to leave because they've been the dominant school in pretty much football, basketball, and everything. Um, the college for pretty much 20 years now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, they want to get out and go do something different. That's fair. I understand that. But yeah, no, that's
uh
still funny. They got rejected. It just popped up. Also, another one that just popped up going to another sport. These are all the breaking news that just keep happening. Um, this one's important to both you and I because it happens for the Knights. Aiden Hill they were able to sign him to a 2-year deal, $4.9 million contract per year. Um,
God, he
that's
could have been
pretty
a
cheap
corner.
for a goal.
He could have been a
That,
cornerback in
that
the
that's pretty,
NFL making 10 mil. Could have.
yeah,
And betting
yeah.
$1,000 per game. Damn.
But
Hockey players really
that's
don't need
good
anything.
for the Golden Knights because they were able to get a Stanley Cup winning goalie um, for less than $5 million for each year, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, so anyway, back to what we were talking about. Um,
Well, the last bit of
the
news, I think the Porzingis, I like the Smart move, I like the Beal move, I like all those moves, and then the only issue I had was the Chris Paul one because it makes no sense whatsoever.
correct.
But the other Damian Lillard, do you think by the
That's a
start of the
good
season,
storyline.
do you think by the start of the season he's still playing in Portland, or what team do you think he gets traded to?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, because they drafted and they oh, did you lose me? There we go.
No.
They drafted and you froze for a sec, so I thought my toaster was heating up. Um, pun intended. Boom. Um, no, but that's an interesting one. That's a very interesting one because I mean they drafted and they traded and they did all the things to pretty much replace Damian Lillard. Um, I don't know, man. I think he starts. I think he at least starts with them, and they could be gone throughout the season. But I don't know. What's your take?
So
This is a fun story to watch.
Yeah, it is. This is the most interesting one because it's like Portland basically drafted Dame's replacement, right? With
Yes.
Scoot.
So
I
so
think he's going to be great.
oh, I think it's gonna be amazing. I really feel like it's who's gonna give in first? Is it gonna be Damian Lillard or is it gonna be the Blazers? Like which team or which which group, him and his group, Lillard and his group, or the Blazers, which organization are going to oh wow, I got tongue tied. Going to fold first and pull the trigger because they're pretty much like feels like in a Mexican standoff.
Yeah. The boring ones that always get like associated with his name that are not gonna fucking happen. He's not going, even though I'm a fan of the team and it's my team, he's not going to the fucking Sixers. They've been saying this for 3 years. It's not fucking happening. And then because the Sixers have nothing to give up, the Portland Trailblazers are not gonna take fucking Harden, which we'll talk about in a second, but they have nothing to give for him. He would fit on the team with Embiid, obviously, but also we've seen this thing where it's like, even if they kept Harden and also got uh, Damian Lillard, we have not seen the big three concept in the NBA work since the Warriors did it with Kevin Durant, and then Klay Thompson was still at his peak. And since then, we've seen just like get your homegrown talent, and then you get like the Bucks and you get like the Nuggets. And to a certain extent, the Lakers kind of did the big three scenario, but they just got two, right? So I really think the new way in the NBA to win is either get a big two and build around them, or just get one homegrown talent and build around him with, and then hopefully you hit on like a Jamal Murray where he's, pops off, and then you have a big two that you kind of developed, right? But
Right.
as far as the Sixers go, get rid of fucking Harden, keep Embiid, let Maxey develop into your two, and then just put guys who can shoot, who can defend, who can, you know, run a scheme, much like the Miami Heat did to get to the finals, and then just go that route. Like, we'll talk about that, but he's not going to the Sixers. Nets, I keep seeing Nets or Knicks because obviously whenever one of these fucking things happen, we have to throw in both New York teams, even though the Knicks haven't been relevant in 2 fucking decades.
No, but
But
they get their name out there and they want people to look at them like, hey, look at me, I'm fancy, I'm New York.
that would be boring as shit. Boring as shit if he went to the net. If he went to the Knicks. The interesting one that I do think is probably the most likely, and I would like to see because I'm a Jimmy Butler fan, but I would hate to see it because I'm a Sixers fan, is if he went to the Heat. If he goes to the Heat, and then it's like they have Adebayo, they have Jimmy Butler, and then they have great role players, and the Heat are one of those teams where they just find all these diamonds in the rough. If they have Damian Lillard, and then it's like you have that three matchup with a bunch of really good shooters, then that becomes a really dangerous team in the East, especially a team in the East we've seen multiple years now where they're like, I don't give a shit about the regular season. Let's just wait to the playoffs. And then they come into the playoffs like fully rested as a team. Then you can see, maybe that team with the Nuggets the Heat team doesn't beat the Nuggets with Damian Lillard, but it's going to be a lot fucking closer than it was. And I think that's the most likely scenario. He goes to the Heat. I also would sneakily like him to see him go to the Sacramento
Ooh, you haven't
Kings.
used that word in a while.
Yeah. I haven't seen the Kings in like trade talks or whatever, but if they could somehow get him, pair him with Fox and Sabonis, I think that would be kind of an interesting team. Maybe the piece they need to kind of get over the hill, of what their potential is. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see where he lands, because I don't think there's a clear cut like, oh, obviously he's going here. I think it'll be It'll be really interesting to see where he goes. Uh, all right, Casino, it's time. Let's talk about fucking James Harden.
Ugh.
So news broke yesterday that Harden was
Mm.
signing I believe it was a $38 million deal or his option, $38 million option to stay with the Sixers. And then all of a sudden, hours after that, it came out that, surprise, surprise, James Harden is extremely upset with the Sixers. This is the report. According to sources directly involved in the situation on both sides, the Los Angeles native wants to play for the Clippers, and the Sixers are already in the process of discussing his desired move. Harden is, according to sources close to him, extremely upset at the way in which the Sixers handled his possible free agency and has made his dissatisfaction clear to the organization. And that's that's from the Atlantic, Sam Amick. So you always hear that old saying, Casino, where you wake up in the morning and you go to get your coffee and the barista's an asshole, and then you're driving to work and the guy in front of you is an asshole, and then you get to work and your coworkers are an asshole, and then you go home and your wife's an asshole, and then you look in the mirror and you go, man, everybody today was an asshole to me. And then it's just like, no, you're the fucking asshole because you think everybody's being an asshole to you. That makes you the asshole. There's
Yeah.
no fucking way that every team James Harden goes on, they just disrespect him to unknown proportions, and then he has to get out of there for being so
No, he
disrespected.
thinks he's much better than he is. Maybe if
Yeah.
you actually focused on trying to win a championship and didn't try to pull an Aaron Rodgers and, just go for MVPs, um, maybe
Well,
people
that's
would
the
actually want
thing.
to keep you.
Yeah.
Maybe like, what do you want? You want an organization to go, okay, you're our superstar, but we're also going to bring in LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Murray, Steph Curry. We're going to put together an all-star. We're going to put the US team together for you, or the all-star team. We're going to blend those two together. I mean, because you got to get Joker in there. You put all those together, but yet you're going to be our superstar, and we're going to win 15 championships in a row. That's what he's expecting, and it's like, dude, you got to get off your fucking high horse. You're not that good. You put up numbers, cool. You can put up numbers, but you don't play defense. You've never played defense. What organization wants to keep you? I think you
Yeah.
guys need. I hope your team gets rid of him. I hope.
I think at this point now they 100% will. If I was the Sixers, I'd be like, why the fuck are we going to trade you to the Clippers? Why do we give a fuck where you want to play? You basically are telling us to go fuck ourselves. So why wouldn't we do that in return? The Sixers owe nothing to James Harden. They're the ones that laid their neck on the line for him. And then he showed up in one playoff game and then disappeared for the rest of the playoffs. So it's one of those things where, and now Tobias Harris is getting into it with fans on Twitter, and they
Because that always
he
does that always
mentioned
does well. Just ask just ask Kevin Durant. That always turns out good.
so the Sixers are just in disarray, shockingly. And then I keep seeing these dumb fucking posts where they're like, trust the process, trust the process. The process did not work. The process was, we're going to tank for a couple years, build a team that can win us multiple championships. You haven't even got fucking close. And like Casino was saying, Joel Embiid won the MVP last year, and then he completely shit the bed in the playoffs. So who gives a flying fuck about MVPs? Like you're saying, Aaron Rodgers kept talking about, like, oh yeah, I want to be at my best to win MVPs. And then Gronk came out and was like, who gives a flying fuck about MVPs? It's about
Right.
Super Bowls.
And you want to
Exactly.
move on to another sport? Let's look at hockey. Like, who dominated? Who absolutely? God damn these dogs. Because they hear me talking in here. But all right, continue talking. Unmute myself.
But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like individual accolades are great. they're great for the players. I'm happy Joel Embiid won MVP. But if you win MVP and then you win the NBA Finals and then you win Finals MVP, don't you think that's better than just winning MVP? Joker won MVP 2 years in a row, and myself included, still had a bunch of question marks about him being an actual winning player. And then he goes the next year after winning his second MVP consecutively, and then has one of the best playoff performance runs ever, wins that title, wins MVP, and now people, myself included, are now like, he's a top 10 all-time great NBA player. So that's what you want from guys like Embiid. So then when it comes to Harden, it's like you always hear the stories of like they just had one of the most devastating losses of James Harden's career. And an hour later, he's at the club playing. And the night before, he was at the club, or I'm sorry, he was at the club an hour after the game ended. And the night before, he was at the club, and all off season, he comes in 40 pounds overweight. And it's just like, this guy doesn't give a shit about anything but making money and like individual accolades. And great for him. It's
Right.
made him a shitload of money, but I also don't want that guy on my team and don't give a shit about him leaving my team. Like, I hope they trade him and get something back in return. Do not, and I repeat, do not trade him to the Clippers in exchange for Paul George. Paul George is James Harden light. He also has no playoff accolades to speak of. So it's just like, why would you trade uh this player for the exact same player? It doesn't like just get I don't at this point, I don't even give a fuck. If you can't get Damian Lillard, which you're not gonna get, just blow up the fucking team, just keep Embiid and Maxi, surround them with good shooters, and we'll fucking see what next season is. I don't I don't care. The Heat get better every year. The Celtics get better every year. The Sixers stay the same fucking team every year. It's so fucking annoying. Ugh. All right, Casino. That's all. That's all I had on my paper. Anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here? You are still on mute.
Domingo Domingo Germain with his perfect game, which is the marks the 24th all time, fourth with the fourth person to do a perfect game with the Yankees, which is most of all time. But pretty dominant. I don't know if you watched any of that, but it was
I did against the A's.
dominant by Domingo Germain. No, it was he's with the Yankees. They played the A's. So essentially, I mean, he did a perfect game against a junior college team, but whatever. Uh, However you want to take that. Um, but yeah, no, it's still pretty cool. It should be the 25th perfect game of all time. Do you remember that one where the guy got called safe and he was out by like a foot and a half, by like a step and a
Yeah.
half?
Yeah.
But I mean, it is cool, and they were actually pretty good plays. There was a few that there were a few plays that actually happened that were, including the last one, the last out, that had to be really good plays. There was the last out was a super hard line drive on the ground to third, and the third baseman was able to get it, snag it up, and then get it to first in time. So it was, I would probably say 90% dominant on the mound, and then the rest, the 10% was really good fielding by his team to get him that perfect game, which is cool. I mean, it sucks that it's the Yankees, but this guy can now, for the rest of his life, his autograph, it he can live comfortably just by signing baseballs
Yeah.
for the rest of his life, because
That's crazy.
you're only the 24th person in Major League Baseball history, which is how old? And
Dude, since the
now you,
1800s? Like,
yes.
fuck.
So now, yeah. So now you're good. You're good.
I did, I had ESPN on at my work, and I was like, "Why the fuck does Sports Center keep cutting?" Because obviously it was on mute because I work in a bar, but it's not like a sports bar. So the TV was on mute. We had music playing, and there's obviously no like captions or subtitles or anything like that. So I was like, "Why the fuck does Sports Center keep cutting to this 11-0 Yankees A's game?" And they keep cutting back and forth to it, and but I can't hear anything, so I'm just watching it and like nothing's happening. So I was just like, this is really fucking weird. And then finally, like, they the guy strikes out the last A's batter, or I believe it was the line drive you're talking about, and then the team celebrating like they just won the fucking World Series. And I was like, for a good 10 minutes there, I was so confused as to what the fuck was going on. And then they explained it, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. I thought the Yankees were just really excited to beat the A's 11-0. And it was
Like I
in
said, against
June.
like a JUCO team, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that's pretty much all I've got. Again, I don't know how much longer we want to try to do this with my horrible toaster oven, which I need to go get a new computer, new laptop.
You know what?
Like I
This
said,
was just
this thing runs off of Windows 7, so this laptop's like 18 years old.
this was just the episode to kick the rust off Casino. We knew it was gonna be we knew
Oh,
it
it
was
was
gonna be
rusty.
bumpy. It was
Oh, it was
rusty.
bumpy.
But
It
we'll be
was
back
rusty.
next week. Uh
It was
yeah.
Rusty Griswold.
But also I do want to say I have been watching more baseball lately. My baseball team has always been the Angels. I just love the Angels, and I
Hey,
think they're
that
one of
was
the
a good
most fun
game.
teams to watch this season.
That
Like what
well, I mean,
Otani's doing
they
is
have
fucking crazy.
they have the most fun player in baseball. I
Yeah.
mean, Shohei Otani he's a phenom, man. I mean, he has one of the best ERAs as a pitcher, and he's got one of the best batting averages as a hitter. Like you can't you can't get much better of a baseball player than that.
And it's crazy that they also have Mike Trout, who is such an
I,
afterthought because of how dominant Otani is. And Mike Trout is, like always, having a really good season. And no one gives a fuck because Otani is
you know
every
what? I
night.
think people don't give a fuck anymore. Is there once he re-signed with the Angels, they were all just like, eh, like okay, like
Yeah.
his career's done. Like he's never gonna win anything. He's with the Angels, but I mean, like I told you, like the house that I'm in, my in-laws, she has, I don't know if anymore, but season ticket, like partial tickets, and we would go to games like when the Red Sox were in town and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to see Trout just right out there in because the tickets were right in the outfield, right behind Trout. So I mean, that was always fun to watch him play. And you're like, holy crap, you're watching this phenom Mike Trout play baseball. It's like, this is crazy. And then you're like, oh yeah, well, it's still the Angels.
Yeah. There was a tweet I saw. I wish I remember who said it because it was like, it was funny and it was also like, this is super accurate. Where it was like, Mike Trout, it was like newspaper headline Mike Trout and Otani do something never seen in the history of baseball. And then it was like, dot, 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 Angels lose 13-3. And it was like, that was Angels baseball for every year but this year, where it was like these two historic players doing things never before seen in baseball and then still losing the game by like 10 runs. And you're like, how the fuck is this possible?
uh,
But this season, I don't know. Maybe.
Look,
I Casino's toaster's going into overdrive here. But yeah, we'll be back next
I'm
week.
back.
We'll talk we'll talk more things that are
I'm going to
contemporary,
try to
more
upgrade to
current
just
stuff.
I mean, I'm going to get rid of this toaster, but maybe I can get a toaster oven. I hear those things are quite nice.
They are pretty nice, and they toast your buns just how you like them.
I
But
want to I want to heat up my frozen panini.
this has been a very rough episode of the Only Sports
Hey,
Podcast.
hey, have fun editing.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm Will. That's Casino. We'll see you next week. I don't fucking know when. There's nothing to talk about. So we'll you know what? Next episode we'll just do our best, undisputed, first things first, debate stage casino. We should do one of those episodes where we're like
But
before
we
the
got, but
show,
we got
you
to,
have to
we have to talk,
do
but we have to talk this late
passionate
at a time.
yeah. And I have to passionately disagree with you no matter what you say on any sports topic. That would actually be a fun episode. We should talk about
That'd be
this.
fun. Here, turn the other way. Let's see how this works. Let's see how this sets up.
That's egregious. That's egregious.
BJ.
We're going to talk about this. I actually do think that would be funny. But this has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. We'll be back with what could only be a better show next episode. And yeah, adios.
I'm so sorry, man.